What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to sunny and beautiful California, where I have beside me a very important product. This is the all-new 2023 Mazda CX-50, and this is not just any Mazda CX-50, this is the fully loaded Turbo Premium Plus model. So this is the Mac Daddy with all the features and all the luxury that you've come to expect out of a Mazda product. And today you're joining us for part 2 of our review of the CX-50, where we're going to be doing a very extensive test drive and doing a little bit of an overview of all the features. We do have a part 1 that goes over all the features very extensively, so if you want to check that out, you can follow the link in the description for that video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this video. All right guys, so like I said, this is going to be a kind of brief exterior demonstration of the CX-50. We do have that very detailed video that covers all the information that you're going to want to know. So if you go check that video out if you want to know that information. But as far as just some regular stuff going on here, this of course is the CX-50, which is the off-road Mazda SUV. It has a very tough and adventurous look. So what Mazda has done is they've made it wide as well as a little bit lower than some of their other SUVs, which gives it that really tough design. Up here in the front, you will notice that we do have a fully blacked out grille. This is going to be deploying Mazda's signature design characteristics with this grille here. It is tougher than the other Mazda products. And then down here in the bottom, you will notice that we have some tough cladding as well as some silver trim for accenting. Now let's check out these headlights. These are some very premium LED headlights. LED headlights are actually going to be standard equipment on the CX-50. As you'll notice, we do have some really cool daytime running lights that have a more squared off design than what we've seen in stuff like the Mazda CX-5. If we drop down, we do have a turn signal indicator, and it does even have a really bougie, nice fading in and out animation. And working our way around to the side, let's talk about the wheels. So as you can see, these wheels right here are beautiful 20-inch alloys. These are going to be standard on the Turbo CX-50 models. And as you can see, they have a nice contrast design. 20 inches is very large for the segment, and I just love the design. Otherwise, you'll get a 17-inch alloy for the lower end models. We do have some really tough squared off black wheel archings here. And then you'll notice this paint color. This is exclusive to the CX-50. This is a sand paint color, and I really think it sets off the overall adventurous vibe of the CX-50. Coming up to your mirrors, we do have a blacked out mirror housing. We're gonna have standard blind spot monitoring regardless of which trim level you go for. If you go for the higher end ones, that will throw in power folding as well as auto dimming. Now for the side design, you're probably curious as if the CX-50 is a little bit larger than the CX-5, and indeed it is. It's 185.8 inches in length, which does make it around 5 inches bigger than that CX-5 model within their own lineup. Now you can get some really cool adventurous kind of camping details and accessories if you'd like that on the other models. There will be a new Meridian trim level that's the most off-road focused CX-50 as well. And then coming around to the rear design, we've got a new design. Of course, this is an all-new product. It's going to have a lot of these similar elements to something like a CX-5. However, they're going to square everything off and make it look more rugged and aggressive. Our taillights are going to be full LED. They have a nice squared off shape to them, just like the headlights, and every element in here is LED, including that fading in and out turn signal. We have this aggressive piece right here, which matches with what you see in the front. Then dropping down, you're going to have dual exposed exhaust outlets, and then you're going to have a 3,500 pound tow rating for the turbo model. It's reduced down to 2,000 pounds if you go for the regular engine. And I'll keep things brief. In terms of the safety systems, you're going to have every single one of them standard on the CX-50. So that's going to be forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control. So that's certainly a nice touch. But guys, let's go ahead and quickly check out that interior before we take this CX-50 out on a spin. All right, it's time to hop inside of this all-new CX-50. Of course, the outside's all about, looking tough, looking rugged, looking stylish, but the interior really is all about luxury. So let's go ahead and fire it up here.
And of course, Mazda is really known for making nice cabins. I expected this CX-50 to have a beautiful cabin, and indeed it does. So you notice some similar elements to CX-30 as well as the CX-5, but we also have a little bit of extra luxury features here and there. We also have, I think more importantly, a different kind of design. This mirrors the toughness, the way they've kind of boxed out these vents that trace around the steering wheel here as well as over there. I think this looks really nice and just adds that element of toughness. Let's talk materials first and foremost. Across your upper dash, you have a really nice soft touch plastic. As we move down, this whole center area is covered in leatherette, and I particularly like this cross-stitching design finished in this kind of orangey terracotta color. Speaking of terracotta, we have the black interior for the full leather seats that we have on this fully loaded model, but you can get an exclusive full terracotta interior on the turbo models, and we have seen that one, and it does indeed look very good. Once again, you're going to have the same materials over here on the door trim as well. Big piece of leatherette, cross stitching, all soft touch materials, 4 fully automatic windows. We have 8-way power adjusting seats with 2-way lumbar in pretty much all the models. Plus we have 2-person memory seating. So you've got really all the features that you would want. And I should just say, the seats themselves are very comfortable. Now turning my attention back over here, in terms of the gauge cluster, we do have a half digital gauge cluster with the 7-inch multi-function display. It does change its design when you switch into the different drive modes. We also have a head-up display up there in the windshield, which is probably a little hard to see. Of course, you got the nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. Fully loaded examples such as this have all the features like steering wheel heating. And I just want to talk about some of the tech features and different things that are exciting with this CX-50. One of the things I'm thinking about is the fact that we have a 360-degree camera system. This is definitely the nicest 360 camera I've seen in a Mazda product. They've really upgraded the resolution. And the other nice thing is that you can switch between a lot of different views. So you can cycle to different angles. You can also cycle to the side view, which is going to give you the ability to not scrape your rims or see obstacles if you're off-roading, for example. We also have the electronic parking brake with auto brake hold, and we do have the Bose sound system on board. Now, looking at this control knob, of course, if you're familiar with Mazdas, you can use this to control their infotainment system, but there are some important updates in regard to this new system. So with the CX-50, this is now a touchscreen when you're inside of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. When you're inside the Mazda infotainment system, this doesn't work. You still have to use the control knob. But since these systems are designed for being touch capacitive, according to Mazda, they just decided to go ahead and give you the ability to do that, because oftentimes it can be a little difficult to spin the wheel through all the different menus and all this and that. Now I can come up here, I can click. As you can see, works really nicely. The other important thing about this is the fact that this is running wirelessly. So it's the first Mazda that has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto coming to this 10.25-inch display. Speaking of first, there's one more first inside this cabin for the Mazda brand, and it's a big one: the large panoramic sunroof. No Mazda SUV has offered this until this new CX-50, and as you can see, you have this nice expansive piece of glass included on the preferred plus trim level or above. Now, I'm not going to get into specific specs, numbers, comparison to rivals. That's what our other video is for. But I will show you guys what this looks like back here. Pretty spacious offering. I'm sitting behind my own driving position at 5'8", and I have plenty of space to wiggle my feet around. I also have USB connections, vents, and 3-stage heated seats on this top-end model. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the cargo hold as well. As a family crossover, you're going to want plenty of space. This does deliver. As you can see, you have quite a bit of cargo capacity, plenty for all of our equipment, plenty for any outdoor gear that you might take on your adventure. And one of the things I do like is having the handles here in the back that allows me to fold the seats. For some reason that is a little stuck because there's something up there, I think, in the seat. But anyways, you get the picture here. Nice flat loading floor for all of your belongings.
Continue on California 150 West for 13 miles.
160 miles per hour.
Effortless.
Yeah, so the CX-50 with the turbo engine is quick, just like we expect from all the Mazdas that have this turbo engine. So we do have the same powertrain arrangement that we're used to seeing in many of the Mazda products in the lineup. You're gonna have the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that's on 6 out of 10 trim levels. That's gonna be making 187 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque. Then you have your 2.5 turbo model that is on the turbo trim levels, of course. 256 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
And you feel that power, believe me. You really feel that power, and you especially feel the torque. We always comment on that. But these engines run so well, and they really push you back in the seat when you launch off the line.
Yeah, and the torque is also useful for just driving accelerations too, like passing power. If you kick it down, which we'll do a little bit later in the drive to show the transmission, it really just pushes you back in your seat and gets you up to speed exactly how you want it. Now, it is worth noting that power figure that we quoted for the turbo, that is using premium fuel. They give you the option to use both premium and regular fuel, so that's certainly useful nowadays, especially as expensive as gas is. If you use the regular fuel, you will have less power at 227 horsepower instead of that 256 horsepower rating. It really just pulls so hard.
Yeah, like I said, this has always just been an engine that really impresses me. So let's talk about some of the other aspects of the powertrain. We do have a 6-speed automatic on board with this model, so that is the same, of course, as the other Mazda products, including the CX-5. Some of the rivals do, of course, have 8-speed automatics, maybe even a 10-speed automatic. So maybe some extra gears could be beneficial, but what I always say about Mazda products, and it does also apply to this CX-50, this is a really smooth transmission. They've also tuned it to be quite responsive because we do have pretty sporty driving dynamics on board, which we'll talk about as we go through the review. But, all in all, the engine having all that torque, the transmission being nice and responsive, it all works together really nicely. Furthermore, we have standard all-wheel drive with the CX-50. That's something that Mazda's been doing with all of their SUVs for 2022, and that does apply, of course, for this adventure-ready CX-50.
All right, guys, but I want to talk about two things. So, as he mentioned, all-wheel drive is standard equipment, so you only have two different fuel economies. So, for those ratings, you're looking at 24, 30, 27 miles a gallon combined for the standard 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. If you go for the turbo model, that's going to be rated at 23, 29, 25 miles a gallon combined, so 2 mpg reduction for going for the turbo. But honestly, guys, 2 mpg is a small price to pay for this much power, so I'd highly recommend, if you can afford a turbo trim level, please go ahead and get that. And then I do also want to talk about the ride quality, because we're here on a California highway. It's a beautiful highway, and we'll talk about the driving dynamics in just a second, but most of you guys realistically are going to be driving the CX-50 maybe in a city or a suburban highway or something, and it does a fantastic job. We've spent the entire day with the CX-50, and I've been nothing but impressed. The seats are very comfortable. The ride quality itself is really good, despite us having the really large 20-inch wheels. It soaks up the bumps exceptionally well, and it's also very quiet inside this cabin. So in this drive, we will get a sound level reading going 55. I don't think we can do it right at this point, but we will get that a little later in the drive.
But what we can do at this point is start to talk about the driving dynamics. This to me was one of the biggest question marks with the CX-50 because, of course, Mazda was talking about the additional off-road capability and ruggedness of this product. But we wanted to know, is it going to keep the signature Mazda handling? What Mazda would be complete without wonderful handling? I'm so happy to report that they have kept all these signature characteristics. This feels so good behind the wheel. Just like with the CX-5, it drives so much smaller than it even is. Mason was commenting on this. It doesn't feel that much different than the Mazda 3 hatchback we had. All the Mazdas just have that baked into the core of their DNA. So when you toss around a corner, The body stays nice and stable. You have very little body roll. The steering is fantastic. They do such a good job. It has great heft to it, great accuracy, and it just feels so rewarding to go around corners. And we're just in the standard mode. I will mention, of course, we do have the 3 different drive modes, and I can cycle that up to the sport mode right now, actually.
It's just so funny in an SUV that you're able to do this, and I love it.
As far as the sport mode is concerned, what that does, just kind of further tightens down the steering, throttle response, and really makes the transmission a lot more aggressive. Of course, the CX-50, just like with a lot of other Mazdas, has their signature G-vectoring control, and that system, the way it works is just basically trying to always keep a little extra grip on your front wheels to turn in as sharp as possible, and you can really feel that system work.
And we could probably sit here all day and talk about how awesome this CX-50 is to drive. We really have been enjoying it. But let's go ahead and get into our slam dunk and airball. This is a signature thing that we do in all of our Car Confections videos, is what's the best element, what's the element that we could see some improvement on. For the slam dunk, really with any Mazda, you could say the driving dynamics, so we're going to try and keep it a little CX-50 specific. We're going to say the design. We really think Mazda has knocked it out of the park in terms of the design, making this more off-road focused and adventurous looking than something like a CX-5. It just looks so good in person, and I love the wheels. The paint color really sets this one off. I really just have zero complaints as far as the design is concerned.
Right, exactly. And like some vehicles, when they try to make them look rugged, they just throw on some plastic and call it a day. But this looks rugged, but also like still sleek and just really good looking.
Yeah. Going 55, we're looking at 57.6 is our sound level reading, which is really good. That goes to show you that they haven't really cheaped out on any of the sound deadening materials going on here. And it just sounds very quiet, just sitting here in the seat.
I think this road is a little on the rougher end of things, and it's handling it really well. Now on the airball side of things, we did have to dig a little to figure out what we wanted to airball. Now, as much as we love the turbo engine, and that does stand out from the competition, there is something that the competition offers that the CX-50 doesn't have, at least at this time, and that is a hybrid offering. So I do hope that Mazda is investigating bringing in a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid to the CX-50, because that would be certainly good. Obviously, it's kind of at the forefront of people's minds these days, fuel economy, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people would enjoy, that combination of good fuel economy and plus the good driving dynamics.
Now, as far as some off-roading information about the CX-50, like we have said throughout this video, it is pretty off-road capable. It's of course more off-road capable than something like a CX-5. It's not super hardcore like a Jeep Wrangler or anything, but it does have that prowess. So they have specifically designed an off-road mode that really helps to provide the most torque from a standstill, that really gives you the most smoothness that you can expect on an off-road course.
Right. Mazda was talking about a big focus is they wanted it to feel the same even when you're off-road, that you would still have that good feeling of control that you do have on the on-road portion, but then also not have the extra off-road capability compromise the on-road. And I do think they have accomplished that.
You're probably curious about the pricing for the CX-50. Is this going to be a lot more expensive than a CX-5? And fortunately, the answer to that is no. This is really pushing, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's not much more expensive than a CX-5. You're starting at $26,800. Do keep in mind that is with standard all-wheel drive, so when you look at the competitive set, that's really not much higher of a starting point compared to their base models with all-wheel drive. Then you have the 10 different trim levels, going all the way up to what we have today, the Turbo Premium Plus, which starts at $41,550.
Yeah, I will say that is a pretty good price point, though, for something like this. It really does feel, of course, very luxurious. And, many traditional rivals, like a RAV4, for example, we actually had one on loan, a hybrid one that was a little over $43,000. So this is a really nice price point for what you're getting. But all in all, we are really really impressed by this
Yeah.
new CX-50. Going into this, to be honest, we had high expectations because Mazda does such a good job with their other products, including the CX-5. And I'm happy to report that they took all the things we love about the CX-5 and they added some additional elements for us to love. They made improvements in terms of like the way this looks. It looks more stylish, it looks more rugged, you have more capability on board, you have some updated cabin, of course, more luxury, better technology.
Touchscreen. Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just really a fantastic overall package. And you know, at the beginning we said, are they offering something for everyone? I think with this new CX-50 they might be offering something for almost everyone for sure.